Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, mic check, 1, 2. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes, so just checking the audio. How are you over there? Good? Great. You got focus?
Maybe that one. What if I'm to the side? Is that good?
Well, his is a little.
Mm-hmm.
For my shot, it's better if you're on this side.
Is it? This way? Okay. The light is no joke, too.
Yeah, that's good. I got it.
Okay, thanks. It's
Not one penny.
Not
Yeah,
one
I'm
penny.
pretty sure. I guess it's. Test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Got it?
We'll all be on that side one day.
Yeah.
Few years. I'll take it over.
Oh, well.
Okay. Went the wrong direction.
Oh, she's got Batman. The Batmobile.
Do you see?
And Daddy up. You got it, Daddy up.
That adorable sweater vest. It's just like the cutest thing.
I'm guessing the podium is blocked.
Oh, that makes sense. So please.
Hi, I'm Peter.
Stand by.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Running in the right crowd.
Awesome. I know Ari from some work I did in the past with Disability Rights Community.
Not our board now.
Yeah.
You were.
I work
Sure.
now just I'm a union.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of these wonderful advocates for being here today, for coming out. My mother always used to say, I went to school on a basketball scholarship, and I was dreaming of playing in the NBA. It was a ridiculous idea because I was too small, and I made up for it by being really slow. But she always would ask me, when I'd go to a game, she'd say, Ron, dear, are you running with the right crowd? And I'm looking around me right here at all of these wonderful people, and I'm telling you, I am running with the right crowd this afternoon. And let's be clear. For this tax abomination, with the huge deficits that you would have when the House eliminates the medical deduction and you add up all the giveaways, it sure looks like seniors and the vulnerable are going to pay for the big tax cuts for the multinationals. That's the bottom line when you look at where this tax abomination is as we go to the need to defeat the House bill and then come back and block the Senate legislation as well. Now, Republicans in the House are just a couple of days away from a vote to put an economic double standard into black letter law. They made a promise early on that they'd have a big, lasting tax cut for all the folks, all the families that are on an economic tightrope, all the good folks that are with me here today. But somewhere between the calls from the political donors and the multinationals and the tax scammers, that promise to these good folks turned into a multi-trillion-dollar handout for the multinational corporations and tax cheats that is going to raise taxes on millions of families in the middle class. Now, the reason I'm so glad these good folks are here is that political change, if we've learned one thing, again over the last few months, is political change doesn't start in a bunch of government buildings around here and then trickle down. Political change is bottoms up when wonderful folks like this come to the Capitol. And you look, for example, on what's ahead. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, recently announced that the very next bill that he was going to take up after taxes is what he called entitlement reform. Folks, that is code for putting at risk seniors and kids and folks with disabilities. Those would be the next people to have to run this gauntlet if you pass this tax abomination. You just look at what they did in the House without thinking a whole lot. They said they were going to take away the medical expense deduction. And Anna Maria Beard from Portland wrote to me why she's losing sleep as a result of that. And I've heard from a lot of other people, students, worried about getting hammered when they have tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. They're going to lose their deduction for student loan interest. But guess what? While the students get hurt in the House bill, the multinationals still get to deduct a big chunk of their interest. So here's my bottom line. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Because this ensures that when we start seeing all the folks down outside the Senate Finance Committee, when we start marking up a bill, came to be known in 1986 as Gucci Gulch. I see my little friend here with some good sneakers. Doesn't look like he's from Gucci Gulch. So keep calling, keep writing, keep speaking out against the double standard. Tell everybody America doesn't need yet another tax abomination, which is what you get with these huge budget deficits, reducing the lifeline for vulnerable people like the medical deduction. And particularly, it's a big mistake to do it if seniors and the vulnerable are going to see their needs sacrificed to pay for multinational corporations getting tax breaks, who, by the way, have even said, as recently as today, that they're not going to put that into red, white, and blue jobs. They're going to put it into more breaks for their stockholders. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about the outcome of your visit. It couldn't be more appropriately timed. We're seeing in the Senate, they're scrambling because their numbers don't even add up. We were told we were going to work on a bill today. Now we're asking questions about a bill that isn't even going to be the bill in a few hours because their numbers don't add up. So I'm looking forward to being with you. And my mother of blessed memory, she'd be looking at all of you and say, Ron, dear, that's the right crowd. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you so much, Senator. It's my privilege and honor to be serving as your humble MC today. My name is Rebecca Vallis. I'm the Managing Director of the Poverty to Prosperity Program at the Center for American Progress Action Fund. We're thrilled to have joined forces with Not One Penny and a number of other partners today. But really, my job is to get out of the way, because the most important part of today's conversation, and really the most important part of this tax fight that we are currently watching play out in the halls of Congress as we speak, as well as in the streets across the country, it's about real people. It's about the people that Speaker Paul Ryan and Leader Mitch McConnell promised that this tax bill was actually going to help. Well, guess what? We've learned actually today with new analysis out of the Center for American Progress that there are 36 million very good reasons why what they said was a lie. And those 36 million good reasons are the 36 million middle-class Americans who are going to see a tax hike for their family under this bill. bill. So with that, let's get to the good stuff. We're going to hear from a number of folks today about what this tax bill means for them and for their families. It's not just huge tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations, it's potentially devastating consequences for middle class and working families in this country. So first, I'm pleased to hand it over to Kingsley Floyd with ADAPT. Kingsley. Yes. So what do we have in terms of options?
Is there a way to unclip this? Oh, we can unclip it. Oh. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is. I think we have some technical difficulties. Hello.
Nope.
Hello. Hi. My name is Kings Floyd.
Hold tight for just a second, folks.
Do you want to switch out another speaker who can have access to the podium? That might be it.
Is this one a piano?
No, those are just
Those are both for
yeah, this is distance one, but it's
What about?
really loud.
It's not a distance thing. Sometimes it is both. Testing 1, 2. I'm going to be really loud. We're going to try out being loud.
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Kings Floyd. I'm with DC Metro ADAPT. I also help with National ADAPT. And I'm here to talk to you about the millions of Americans with disabilities who are not seeing their rights addressed in this tax cut bill. We are, in general, a vulnerable population. Many of my brothers and sisters are dependent on the services that government provides in order to have Medicare and Medicaid, in order to be provided with PCA services and live in the community as independently as possible. This tax bill does not allow us to continue to do that. It is an unfortunate way to suffocate our rights as people with disabilities by putting us on limited amounts of Social Security and Social Security income, Medicaid and Medicare, and then pushing to cut those programs even more as the tax bill is signed in. Now, the Senate does not have a medical deductions clause within it, but the House bill does. And so a lot of my brothers and sisters will not be getting the medical care that they need. What does this mean for people with disabilities? This means that they will not be living independently. That means they will not be contributing to society by being able to go to their jobs, being able to participate in their homes, being able to live with their families. This means that Americans with disabilities will be more and more dependent on a society that doesn't support them and does not recognize them. This is a problem. We are contributing members of society, and we need to be included in all of these bills. And we encourage both Senate and House, Democratic and Republican, to look at our community as a valued community, one that contributes to society, and one that should be included whenever we're writing future laws and pass laws into place.
Thank you so much, Kingsley. And next up, I'd like to welcome Peter and Lisa Witzler. They're here on behalf of Little Lobbyists as well as Moms Rising.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us all here today. My name's Peter Witzler. This is my wife, Dr. Lisa Witzler. We have Jackson, his caregiver Naudry for the last 2 years, and our other son, Teddy, here with us today. So we're all members of Moms Rising and Little Lobbyists, and I gotta say it's a real honor to share the stage with Adapt, because I know that Jackson has the best shot he has at an independent life, because the Adapt community has put their lives on the line throughout the last several decades. So I just got to say it's a real honor to be up here with you. Our 2-year-old Jackson was born with spina bifida, and the medical expense deduction that the House Republicans want to eliminate has been a crucial piece of the financial puzzle that keeps our family in the middle class. Jackson's condition went undiagnosed throughout the pregnancy, which meant that we didn't have the time to prepare or save for the massive expenses that we incurred once he was born. The first 5 months of Jackson's life were filled with tubes, wires, and alarms that kept him alive. He spent more time in a hospital than at home with our family. By his 3rd surgery, he had racked up hospital bills costing more than $3 million. Even with my employer-provided health insurance, we amassed $35,000 in unreimbursed medical expenses. We invested in Jackson's intensive care early to give him the best possible shot at a happy, healthy, and independent life. And this included rigorous physical therapy, in-home nursing care, and countless doctor's appointments, and regular travel to our neurosurgeon team at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. This was all on top of the typical healthcare expenses of a family of 4. And because we made these investments and the fact that we can deduct those costs from our taxes, we're now talking about how to save for college for Jackson and his brother Teddy, not how to save for surgery. Our country's tax code is a statement of values. And if this cruel and heartless tax plan is passed, Republicans in Congress will show that they value big corporations and wealthy individuals more than they value my son's health and well-being.
So Jackson's care is not something that he can get over or will be cured. He's never going to outgrow this. He's going to require a lifetime of care, services, and supports. Despite his complicated medical needs, he continues to amaze us, exceeding expectations and any limitations his medical team told us to be ready for. The services and support he needs, even the ones not covered by insurance, are not optional. The medical expense deduction has gone a long way in ensuring that Jackson has access to these critical services without sending us into bankruptcy. Any savings we get from the deduction are immediately put back into Jackson's care to continue his path towards independence, and in the long run will likely save money by reducing his needs in the future. Jackson had a doctor's appointment last week. It came with good news and bad news. He's been approved to transition to walking with arm crutches and his braces, moving him further along in his path towards independence. The bad news is that he'll need at least 2 surgeries in the next few years because our current tax code values Jackson by allowing us to deduct the expenses that will come with these operations. We don't have to worry about what's in our bank account before considering what's best for our child. As if to add insult to injury, the current Republican tax plan is a quadruple hit to our bottom line. My family doesn't just utilize the medical tax deduction, we also use the local and state tax deductions, mortgage interest deduction, and student loan deduction. These are some of the tax programs that allow us to keep our heads above water and care for our boys. The Republican tax proposal will hit my family over and over again. Their tax plan will not only raise taxes for millions of middle-class families like mine, but will also force families with high medical expenses and other struggles to delay or forgo essential medical care for their children or loved ones, or saddle us with unending debt. No parent should ever have to make that choice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Colleen Giofrida, and she's here on behalf of the Little People of America.
Hi, I'm Colleen Giofrida. I am here as coordinator for the Little People of America. If you haven't heard about Little People of America, it's a national support organization. It's the largest support organization in the world for people with dwarfism and their families, and it provides lots of different support, but the one that I'm going to talk about today is the adoption support. They have done adoption facilitation. Basically, we're kind of a middleman between our members who have dwarfism or children with dwarfism and adoption agencies and birth parents and things like that. And why this is important is because some of our members, you know, like me, I have achondroplasia. Some members have more difficulty going through a pregnancy or carrying a child full term. And adoption is a really, really wonderful way of still providing available resources to be a parent. And so we have, in our community, we kind of have estimated in the last 20 years or so, and kind of the people that are adopting now within our community, couples, around 40% of our couples that are still having children are, they're adopting around 40% of the time. So 60% they have biological children, and sometimes it's a mix. In my instance, we have 3 biological children, and we also have an adopted child. And when we adopted her, we were one income family. I was a stay-at-home mom. It was great, but the adoption credit was an amazing tool to kind of make sure that we had it in our mind that we could still do it. Because I think that the issue that I have as an adoption coordinator is that just the exorbitant cost of adoption in the first place is $25,000 to $35,000, and when parents hear that, they say, "There's no way we can do it." And so I have all these kids that are available with dwarfism that need medical care and that just need families because their birth parents here have decided that they don't know enough about dwarfism and they have to place them for adoption, or overseas they have different cultures that their dwarfism and other disabilities aren't accepted at all. So we have all these children available, and then we can't find the parents just because of cost. It's the only reason. So having the tax credit really is helpful because then it kind of encourages people like, well, we can kind of we can front the money, and then we'll eventually get some of it back, and we can afford some of it. And it really, really encourages people to make the jump. And once they make the jump, of course, I haven't talked to anybody that's sad about going into a little debt for adoption. So I would really, really like to encourage people to keep the adoption credit in the tax bill, and maybe change the tax bill a lot. And that would be my wish. And basically, if people with disabilities want to be parents, or people with a disabled child want to adopt a sibling for their other child, so they can grow up together and have kind of a friend in their upbringing and growth and everything. The adoption credit is a really, really nice encouragement for families to be able to do that.
She'd change a few things about the tax bill. Next up, we have Shakira Oliver. She is a 6th grade math teacher here in DC's public schools. Shakira.
Thank you for having me here today. I promise, I know I'm a math teacher standing before you, but I'm not going to bore you. I'm not going to give you a red F. I don't believe in red pens because I know that could be tragic. But I teach at Brightwood Education Campus. It's a Title I school located here in Washington, D.C. and Northwest. I've been a teacher for 16 years, and I've taught in D.C. for 9. And over the years, I know I've spent thousands of dollars of my own money on supplies for my classroom. And now I am by no means wealthy, but I have to do this because I need to ensure my students have what they need. So I'm sure you know the routine. It's July and August, and the lists are out, and you can go to your child's website or a child's website and see the things that the teachers or the school ask for, right? And so we want the basic supplies, but the things that the school might not necessarily be able to provide us. So I'm talking about binders, project supplies, where students can personalize their learning and differentiate the material. I'm also talking about Lysol wipes and spray, because some illnesses are airborne, to keep the classroom clean and my students healthy and in school with me. And every year I get items from families because I've been teaching there long enough and they're supportive, but it's not enough to last the whole school year. I buy these things out of my pocket because I love my students and I want them to succeed. Now, I'm also a mom, and I know about budgeting. So I'm buying supplies for my classroom, and I'm knowing that it does mean that my own girls will have a little less money for our own needs. But every single educator that I know feels this same conflict. And it's not just at the beginning of the year, this is during the year as well. We might see a wonderful curriculum material that we would love to use. We might need to go online and purchase it. We might be at Michael's and find something that'll really enliven our instruction because we're so passionate. And we're going to make that choice and buy it. So I have colleagues who've spent literally thousands of dollars. And if you change a grade level, it's like you're starting from scratch again. I want you to know that the $250 tax deduction has been a big help to my family. You know, I save my receipts from Staples and Amazon and anywhere I can find a deal. And I get to deduct a portion of the amount I do spend on the school supplies for my students. But I'm shocked that some in Congress would try to take this away. You know, and I hear about the big corporations getting their taxes slashed by 15%, and I'm a math teacher, and I'm like, really? And, you know, they want to eliminate the student loan interest deduction, which makes it easier for our students to pay back the college loans. But I still can't imagine how Congress could look to their constituents as if they were to vote for this type of bill. So I wonder who they're representing, because it's certainly not the teachers or the parents whom I'm amongst up here, or the students or the children who are just trying to, you know, save money, maybe buy a home and send our children to college. And it's not anyone who relies on the state and local taxes to pay for the services like law enforcement, because, you know, they serve like we serve, and the emergency services, because the Republicans would like to slash the state and local tax deduction as well. You know, I'm a teacher and I'm a veteran, and I've devoted my life to public service. I get paid with tax dollars, and I don't mind paying taxes because I teach how the system works, right? It's a good system. But when I spend an average of $750 to $1,000 a year of my own money on supplies for my students, and that tiny deduction of $250 is threatened with loopholes for those who make exorbitant amounts of money, and that remains wide open, I get a little frustrated and upset. So with this information, I thank you for listening to my experiences.
And then last but certainly not least, we have Sam Crane, who is here with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Crane with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. I'm the Director of Public Policy there, and I want to talk for a minute about an incredibly important issue to the entire disability community, and that's employment. 80% of the disability community is either unemployed or not participating in the workforce. Of the 20% who are actually working, almost 200,000 people are currently working for less than minimum wage under an archaic loophole in the federal minimum wage laws. In order to get the number of people with disabilities into competitive integrated employment, we need to reach out to employers to make sure that they have the resources that they need to hire us. And that includes small businesses. Small businesses are a key component in the disability employment project. One of the reasons why small local businesses are so important is because they're invested in the community, they know the people in their community, and they want to be able to hire people with disabilities who are their neighbors and their friends. However, they will not be able to hire their neighbors and friends with disabilities if those people with disabilities cannot get in the door of their store or their business. And they won't be able to hire those people if they can't afford adaptive equipment that we might need in order to do our jobs and do our jobs well. Unfortunately, the Senate and House are looking at eliminating tax credits for small businesses that would enable us to work, that would allow small businesses to deduct part of the cost of changing their facilities to make them accessible and eliminate barriers, and making reasonable accommodations to people with disabilities that they employ. This is unconscionable and will result in even worse unemployment of people with disabilities. It's especially troubling that they should be looking at this at the same time that Congress is looking, thanks Rebecca for helping me stay on track, Congress is looking at limiting our rights under the ADA to get into these businesses. So not only are we removing an incentive through the enforcement system that allows us to enforce our rights to get in the door, but also removing financial incentives to businesses to comply with the law. I hope that the Congress will take these provisions out of the tax bill so that all of us can get to work. Thank you.
Those were 6 incredibly powerful stories. I thank each of you for your willingness to be here today and to share those personal stories about what this tax plan would mean for you and for your families. It's not just these 6 folks, it's 36 million families in this country in the middle class facing a tax increase under this bill, despite the repeated promises of the leadership in the House and in the Senate that this would actually be a bill for them to help them. That's not what it is. And this is despite the fact that 3/4 of Americans want to see taxes increased on millionaires and people with even more money than that, rather than a tax plan that gives them the ability to buy a second yacht. So with that, I'm excited to turn it over to you folks for questions. Do we have any questions from the media in the room? Going once, going twice. Wonderful. Then join me in thanking these fine folks one more time for being with us today, and that concludes our event.